What's up guys, my name's Liam and today I'm going to be doing a full review on the Lamzu Sapphire skates. So how do these skates stack up against glass skates or PTFE feet? Let's check it out. Alright guys, so here we have the box here for the Lamzu Sapphire skates, and currently they only have these available for the Lamzu Atlantis OG version. And as always, Lamzu always pulls through with their impressive presentation and their packaging, so let's get into it. So upon opening the box, looks like we have a little flap here. We'll go and pull this out. And there the skates are themselves. They look absolutely incredible. And while these feel really smooth and great, they feel like they have a great finish to them. It looks like we just have some alcohol pads here, and it just basically tells you to make sure you remove any residue off the skate before applying these ones on there. All right, so here's a close-up of how they look. And right off the bat, I mean, they feel perfect. There's no edges on them. There's no sharpness to them. They feel very smooth. So I'm really interested to check these out. I came in really excited about glass skates when they came out, and unfortunately those ended up being a downfall for me. The glide on them at first felt great, but then they just ended up becoming too inconsistent. So I'm going to go and throw these on the mouse, test it out on various mouse pads, different types of games, and I'll be right back to let you guys know what my overall thoughts are. What's up guys? We're back, and I shot the intro, the unboxing for this video. It's been about 5 days now. So I've tested these skates out for about 5 days, and I feel confident enough to say that I do have a pretty good feeling for them. I've tested them on every type of pad. I've tested them against every type of glass skate that I have, a bunch of different PTFE feet. And yeah, so let's go ahead and jump into all the information that I found out here about the Lamzu Sapphire skates for the Atlantis OG. Lamzu actually put out a video. They put out a short on their YouTube, Lamzu Gear. What they do is they take these skates and they actually rub these skates across the street, the asphalt on the street, and they do it twice, and it doesn't scratch the skates at all. I do know about Sapphire, I know how strong it is and stuff like that, but to see it put through tests like that, I think is cool, because I would never dare to try that on my own skates that I purchased, especially with these coming in at $30. However, I've ran these skates through tests. I try to torture test them. More than a full day's use of using them on hard pad. The one surface I didn't get a test was a glass pad. I don't currently have a glass pad. My relationship with glass pads, glass skates, hasn't exactly been a positive one. So with that being said, I really wanted to try and put these through as much of a thorough test as possible. Because when it came down to owning glass skates for me, the hype was real. So, this is just a couple boxes I have here of unused skates. I actually did use the, Super Glides. I've used a couple of the Final Mouse versions. I also have a bunch of glass dot skates. I bought a couple pairs of the Lethal skates. So as you could see here, this is just one of them. I also got a couple Pulsar. This is limited edition. This actually came with these glass skates. So I've definitely been around the block with glass skates. When you are using a pair of the Super Glides, there's a break-in period on them. Then, I started noticing all the inconsistencies. When you use them a lot, they wear down over time. They get scratched. They can crack. They can break really easy. What I noticed with glass skates is one of the major issues that I always had was I'm not sure if it's the correct technical term, but I always refer to it as jelloing. The reason I refer to it as jelloing is because when you hold like a bowl or anything full of jello, when you shake it, it's got that wobble left, right, left, right. You can always miss the spot where you intend on placing your cursor. So what you have to do to compensate is, if you're playing a first person shooter and somebody shoots to the left and you go to correct and go to the left and shoot them and you overshoot it, you find yourself going back, making those little wiggles back and forth, trying to make sure that you're actually hitting the target. At the end of the day, I ultimately just decided not to use them and that they weren't for me just due to the inconsistent issues I had with it. All right, so first off the bat, one thing that I noticed about these skates is that these skates are actually very consistent across all surfaces. But I feel like more so with glass skates, I feel like glass skates are a lot more inconsistent, and the surface, the pad, actually has more of an importance for the actual skates than these ones do. For example, when glass skates get worn down and they get muddy, or even if they get scratchy on the bottom, if you get scratches on them, on slower pads, they can feel really muddy. really slow, feel like you have a lot more control. Whereas when you start going on faster pads or harder pads, they feel like they have much quicker of a glide. PTFE feet have a scratchier feeling on surfaces. When it comes to the overall glide of the Sapphire skates, they do feel smoother. With glass skates, you can just have your hand on the mouse, not even trying to move it, and you just see like your crosshair or whatever part of your mouse just randomly just starts moving around. So far, I haven't come across that issue at all with the Sapphire skates. And to be completely honest with you, so far, they kind of seem like they got the best of both worlds. It kind of gives you the confidence and control of the PTFE feet and more of a consistent glide than glass skates do. When testing a glide on these pads, we got the glass skates here. And, you know, the glass skates got a great glide on this, but there's times that they do feel muddy. Again, these are worn in by now. Now let's go ahead and throw that up against PTFE. You know, and in all honesty, on this pad, since these are so worn in now, the glide is honestly feeling better on the PTFE. So, you know, these at this point on this pad feel like the glide is slower than PTFE, and on top of that, you still have that wiggling effect when you're sitting at a rest. Whereas with PTFE, you just kind of stop and you can just sit in the pad and it's pretty firm. It doesn't move around. The glide on these skates, the Sapphire skates are feeling smoother. They're feeling a little quicker, but again, they do feel pretty similar to the PTFE feet. As you can see there, I'm trying to push them as closely as I can. They do feel really close. All right, so here we got the Artisan Fx Zero in mid. Again, you know, I get a similar between PTFE and these skates. I get a pretty similar glide. The difference is this has a scratchier feeling. So when I say scratchier, though the speed is similar, I feel like the scratchiness causes for a bit more resistance as you're gliding across the surface. And then, you know, on this pad, honestly, this might slightly have a little bit more stopping power, but this is pretty close. And then when it comes to the glass skates, you know, right now, since these glass skates are so broken in, I do feel like these have a smoother glide and they're slightly quicker. However, I mean, even on a control pad with these super glides, you get that insecure jelloing effect when you're trying to make micro adjustments. Just when it's like when you get down in here, there's like so little friction. The movement, it just feels so inconsistent. It's really hard to get a stop where you want to stop. I feel like it just slightly shoots past that spot. Whereas with these, when you're making the micro adjustments with the Sapphire skates, I just don't feel that issue at all. Another thing that you also have to keep into consideration, they're super hard, they're solid. So knowing that glass skates can wear out your pads much quicker, I can guarantee you, although I haven't experienced it yet, I can almost guarantee you that these are going to do the same thing. So that's just something to keep in mind. You know, if you do have a coated surface mouse pad or something like that, these could probably wear down that a lot quicker, I imagine. The Hyate Otsu, we're going to start out with the Xsoft variant. So when it comes to the Xsoft variant, again, I feel like with the PTFE feet, you do have the scratchier feeling. You know, honestly, the speed of these two skates, they feel pretty similar. The PTFE feet do have slightly a bit more stopping power. When you're going to make micro adjustments, I feel like these skates are easier to make micro adjustments with. Next up, let's go to soft, and this is the Hien in the wine red. You know, I do feel like on the Hien pad, I do feel like these skates are a bit more quicker than the PTFE feet. However, you still get that stopping power. And when it comes to like flick shots, I don't feel like it's that difficult to stop on these. Again, with the glass skates, you always overshoot, always overcorrect. But, you know, I feel like these are a lot more consistent. I feel like these are slightly just a little faster than these, smoother, and just slightly easier to make corrections. Again, not stopping as quickly or anything like that, but, you know, just overall a very similar feeling across all these pads here. Here we have the Hyate Otsu in mid. So the PTFE just feels a lot scratchier on here. Like there's a bit more resistance as far as the speed goes. It's pretty similar. So if you are using a mid-style pad, a harder type of a pad with a more abrasive surface, I feel like you don't get as much of that initial friction and control as you do on the Xsoft variants. So this does make it a little slippier. I don't feel like it's anywhere near the glass skate version to where like I don't feel like I can stop or I'm going to overshoot my shot. You definitely get a lot more control if you're going to be using a softer pad like an Xsoft or something like that. All right, and getting into my top 2 pads with these skates, with my testing with the Lamzu Energon is where I feel like you get one of the best experiences with these skates. The surface is so smooth and consistent across the board, and with the plushness of the pad, when you really start to push into this pad, it really offers you a lot more control. The fact that this pad has very little initial friction when you're going from a dead stop to make a micro adjustment and move around the pad. But again, you can really push into the pad and get rough with it when you want to stop on a dime. I truly feel like it benefits these skates the most. And when it comes to PTFE feet, it's honestly a pretty similar feeling. I feel like, again, with these skates, which have been consistent across the board, it just makes it easier when you get down to do the micro adjustments. But on this pad, honestly, I feel like you get incredible control over it with these skates. So overall, I feel like this is a banger combo. Where these skates I feel like they benefit with the most is when you're getting a smoother, more consistent surface as opposed to playing on a very high textured, rougher surface. All right, so the final pad that we're going to talk about today is the TJ Exclusives Cerapad. When you're using the Cerapad, if you're using glass skates, you get the super, super quick glide. You don't get hardly any stopping power with glass skates. So this comes to a slower stop, these come to a quicker stop. I feel like these skates paired with this pad feel buttery smooth and absolutely phenomenal. Whereas if you're using PTFE feet, I feel like overall you get that scratchier feeling with the PTFE feet. And for those of you that don't know about the Cerapad, this is the Cerapad, not the Hien. This is a speed pad that offers you a bit more control. Again, these are just slightly faster, but again, they give you that control and the stopping power. And I feel like ultimately the TJ exclusive pads with these skates is where it's at. And you know, I played a lot of Apex with this combination, and honestly, it felt phenomenal. My overall thoughts on the Lamzu Sapphire skates, I feel like they're an absolutely phenomenal product. These are coming in, they're a little bit pricier, they're $30. Do I feel like it's worth it? I feel like if you're a current glass skate user, should you get these skates? Absolutely. I feel like these skates are superior over glass skates in every single way. One concern I did have about the Cerapad is whether or not these skates would wear out the Cerapad. It does claim on their website that this pad does have a non-wearing surface. So I'm not sure if over time, if that would be so much of an issue. I do know that the surface of the Cerapad is not bulletproof. You know, I've dropped it or put stuff down on it over the time I had to move with the pad, and I do see scratches here on the surface. However, through stress testing and using these skates with the surface, I haven't noticed like yet any visible wearing or anything. So the question, you know, is just going to be whether that does become an issue over time or not. Hopefully with their claim that the surface doesn't wear down and the fact that these Sapphire skates are pretty much bulletproof for the most part, the surface of them, hopefully it wouldn't be too much of an issue. But I definitely would say that if you're using a harder pad like a Cerapad, and you are using glass skates, it's a 100% yes for picking up the Sapphire skates. If you're a person using a control pad or a textured surface pad and you feel like you want a little bit of a quicker glide and you're struggling with making micro adjustments, if you're playing like high tracking pace games, these could definitely be a good option for you. And I definitely give them 2 thumbs up. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you have any questions, please let me know down in the comments below. And aside from that, if you're looking forward to seeing more videos like this in the future, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys soon.